If you have ever wanted to visit San Diego, California, then this is the video for you. My family and I flew out there from Nebraska into San Diego, and that trip was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was long, it felt tiring, but when we peeked out over the desert from the window of the plane, I saw things that I had lots of questions. I saw things I did not recognize in the desert, and I let my mind take me everywhere with wonder and awe and adventure, trying to figure out what I was looking at. I saw sand dunes. I saw what looked like the earth was fading away, and it made me feel a little scared, but it also made me feel how much bigger the world is than my tiny little world. I thought about how I was going to spend my upcoming week in San Diego. And I knew that being there in San Diego, it was going to be a challenge because it was going to be a highly emotional week. My son was graduating Marines boot camp, so 2 of our days were going to be wrapped around the graduation ceremony, family day, spending time with my son. He couldn't leave the base on that day, so I knew we would be there with him most of the day. But planning dinners, trying to decide what we were going to do for the week, I always planned kind of like a rough itinerary. So I kind of knew I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to try to drive over to the beach. I also knew that I really wanted to stay on Shelter Island. And I don't know a lot about the city of San Diego, but one thing I did know is that I wanted to be near the base and I wanted to be near the beach. Staying at Shelter Island was one of the best decisions that we could have made because it put us right where we needed to be on this beautiful man-made island where we saw sailboats every morning, all day, and at night. The cool thing is these sailboats would come through and they were so beautiful. It just felt so calm and so relaxing. But every once in a while, this giant vessel from the Navy would go by. And I'm like, surely these waters are too small for that. And it just felt bigger than life because they were right there. It was amazing. It was amazing. And finding that location was just a treasure because we weren't that far from driving to the ocean. And on the map, everything seemed like it was so far away. But when we hopped in the car and we started driving, it just felt like 15 minutes later we went from being downtown to boom, we're on the beach. And these beaches were just incredible. I grew up in the Panhandle where you could like walk out from the street, right over the sand dunes, right down the beach, and boom, you're in the water. But in San Diego, near the Sunset Beach, there were steps that would take you down the side of the hill or the mountain. I don't know what it was called. Cliffs. They're cliffs. And you could walk all the way down these stairs, and that's where the surfers would go to hop on the water and surf. And it was just, I didn't even get to the bottom of the stairs. It was just overwhelmed of the beauty and it was majestic what I was looking at. But when the water came in under my feet from those stairs and hit those cliff walls, for the first time, I've seen it on TV and movies hundreds of times, but for the first time I saw it in person and thought, now I see the magnitude of the danger of not being close to those cliff walls while you're surfing, because I could see when that wave threw into the side of that cliff, I could see how that could just be so dangerous, but still so magnificent at the same time. and the sound that it produced. It was so loud but calming. And nowhere else would I have ever imagined loud and calm living together. It was just amazing. But we were able to get to the beach at least 3 times while we were there. And on our last day, we drove up to La Jolla. And that was super cool because we went to a location that was called, Children's Pool. And when we got there, some of that village looked, or some of that town looked a little bit like a village you would see in Europe. And that was super cool. But there were seals all over the beach. Lots of birds, lots of seagulls. But seals. Right within a distance you could touch them. Now the signs say don't feed them, so don't feed them. But they're right there. There's a little 2.5 foot, 3 foot wall, and then they're right there. It was just amazing. I'm like, how do they keep these seals behind those walls? But while we were in La Jolla, we did a little bit of shopping. My son was able to buy some sunglasses because he really needed those. But we just kind of walked the beach and just absorbed it all in, and we were all hungry. And there was these little tables set up on the beach. People were cooking right there on the beach. They were grilling right there on the beach. They were grilling hot dogs. I think one guy's little hot dog stand was called, I'm going to have to ask my son. I'll put it in text because I can't remember what it was called, but I thought it was so funny. Oh, the Dog Father. Instead of the Godfather, the Dog Father. And he was selling hot dogs. Hilarious. Smelled good though. But we didn't want to eat there. We wanted to wait and get somewhere where we could sit down. And every day we were there though, it was just such an adventure. And we went out to the disc golf course, and my son and I don't really play disc golf, but we do like to adventure, walk around, look at things. And I knew that, maybe we would buy lunch, but I didn't want to. So what we ended up doing, which really was my original plan, was we were going to go to the grocery store and we were going to pick up some foods that we could just kind of take with us as a lunch. And instead of packing a lunch, we actually just stopped off at the grocery store, which is another little tip. We went to a place called Ralph's. It's a grocery store there really close to Shelter Island, right off the island or on the island. And there were very reasonable prices. Very, very reasonable prices. And they had a deli. And, as you know, most grocery stores, especially those, most grocery stores, you will see that they have clearance items. And that's what they did. They had clearanced out a couple of sandwiches and some little snack packs. And we grabbed those. We grabbed some drinks, some fruit, some waters. And we took those to Balboa Park and just kind of sat down on the grass and had something to eat. We ate our food. And then we walked around Balboa Park. And it was just, everything was free. It was amazing to just see things that we'd never seen before from eyes and perspectives that were fresh and new. And my son and I walked around, oh my gosh, easily we were there, easily 3 or 4 hours, just walking around. And just about everything there in Balboa Park is free. There's a couple of things that they charge for. I think there's 1 or 2 or 3 museums. We chose not to be inside. We wanted to be outside, and we just wanted to do free things. But there's an amphitheater there, and the closer we got to the stage, I'm like, we gotta get on the stage. So I got up on the stage, and I could hear the musicians behind the door, the roll down door. I could hear them back there playing music, getting ready, getting prepared, practicing, or checking out the instruments. I don't know what they were doing, but it was amazing. And we walked around. There's beautiful gardens. There's koi ponds.
Wow.
There's stores to look around. There's restaurants down there. There's water fountains. It was just a beautiful environment to spend the whole day. And we didn't spend a dime. Not on eating and not on walking around and just seeing the sights. And we managed to save so much money from not getting excursions because we didn't want the excursions. We wanted to experience the environment, the town, the city. We drove through a little bit of San Diego in the city, not very much, but just a little. We went to Old Town, which is very close to the airport. By the way, Shelter Island, right there, southwest of the airport, very close by. The beaches were 15-minute drive west of Shelter Island. Balboa Park, about a 15-minute, 20-minute at the most drive from Shelter Island over to the east side of the airport. And then northeast of the airport, very close drive, is Old Town, San Diego, or Old Town. And that's had all of these beautiful little boutiques and shops that were, they had a lot of Spanish food and a lot of Mexican. They had a lot of Mexican shops and little souvenirs, and there was the world's most haunted house, I believe, or the yeah, I think that's what that was. um, it was set up like a little western town, and there was one area that it was a historical landmark. Then they had built all of this other um, amusement around that. So I didn't stop because we were all racing to get something to eat at that point. But I did have the opportunity to stop and take a picture with some wings. So I was able to take some pictures with a butterfly wings, and that was kind of cool. I just want to share with you some of my costs that were involved, because I do think that we as women over 50 can be a little intimidated to travel. But in all honesty, I'm going to tell you what I did because I had my whole family with me. But what I would have done if I did not have my family with me and I went alone, um, I flew there, I had a rental car, and I had a hotel. And I want to share with you where I stayed and how much I spent, because I want you to not feel intimidated, or even if you're someone young and you just want to take this experience. If you're 25, 35, and you're like, I want to do something different, maybe you're not in the United States, and you're wanting to know where you could safely go, and you're thinking about going to San Diego, California, but you've never gone before and you're a little intimidated by it. Everywhere I went, safety. Everywhere I went, comfort, and my environment is so important to me. These were things that I definitely took in consideration first and first before ever. I did all my research to find where I needed to be for those com- comfort levels, and to make sure that I was safe and my family was safe, and that I was in practical places where I could reach all the places I needed to go. So I want to share with you that I did book through Expedia, and this is not an affiliate at all. I'm not sponsored in any capacity, but I used Expedia and I booked a package. So I had the hotel, the car, the flight, all were bundled together, and it was $900 per person, and there was three of us. And I think if I had done that alone, it probably would have been a little bit more, but not very much more. And I didn't spend any money doing any of the excursions, like all of the sightseeing, Balboa Park. There was no money involved. So walking around and looking at the different things and locations, totally free, all within 15, 20 minutes of the hotel where I stayed, which was only about 10 minutes from the airport and the base. So it made everything very convenient. I spent about $150 at the grocery store for our food the entire week, including the drinks. So everything. We went to Ralph's, which is maybe 6 minutes up the road from, not even 6 minutes, right off of Shelter Island as you leave. You hang a right and it's right there. There's also very popular fast food restaurants that you would recognize right there off the island. And if you're on Shelter Island, there's 3 hotels there, or 4 hotels there. And the one that I stayed in with my family was the Bay Hotel. And so it's a little more casual and laid back, but it was very reasonable. The people were very super nice. It was we were well taken care of. Um, it was just in a beautiful setting because when you walk out the front door of the hotel, there was an area where you could picnic, you could barbecue. There were people who were locals out there setting up their tents. So what I liked about the Shelter Island was there's a lot of locals that are there, a lot because it's a marina. And so there's boats out front on the water and there's boats out back on the water parked and well docked. And so we could sit on the back and just watch all of those people hanging out on their own boats. And then we could go out the front and you could see sailboats and it was just super cool. There's restaurants that if you wanted to go, there's no obstruction to the views. There's just so much to see. There's so much history there on the island. They also have a craft fair, I believe, on Friday mornings. I didn't get a chance to go do that because we were doing other things. I think that's the morning we went to the steps on Sunset Cliffs with my son. But lots of fun. Lots of fun.